Welcome to our new season, Trade Secrets.
We're handing the microphone to the people who actually build, wire, plumb, and finish our homes.
And we're asking them, what are the top 5 things that every home renovator should know?
The mistakes to avoid, the money worth spending, and tips to make every renovation run a little more smoothly.
Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jen.
New season, Trade Secrets, and we're going to start with the electrician. Our favourite trade?
I would say
Sorry
my
to
favourite to
everybody
deal
else.
with. I'm sorry to all other trades, but I always find electricians are just a pleasure and a dream to deal with. They just cause the least amount of trouble.
Why? Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know why, but I'm the same. I just always had a great experience with the electrician, and
They
it's a
always
great.
they always feel very organized to me. I don't know. They always just come so prepared. Maybe it's because their work starts when some of the dirtier work has been finished, but
Yeah.
they always feel like they've got their shit together in fairness to them.
Now, if you're listening and you're another trade and you're fuming and you feel hard done
Sorry.
by, sorry, come and state your case.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we said in the intro, what we're doing with this season is we are talking to the tradespeople to get their top tips to make your home renovation go as easy as possible. These are the best trades that we know that we've worked with across our renovations, and we're asking them kind of similar variations at the same 5 questions, right? So, what should people plan early? Where should you not waste money? Where should you save money? How do you make things go smoothly? And what are the big mistakes to avoid?
Yeah.
So, first up,
First off is my electrician, actually, Ronan. So he is, if you want to find him on Instagram, he is 11 Electrical. And Ronan was a dream to deal with, to be honest. One of the most thorough trades that I had dealt with in my renovation. He just made that section of it so easy. And we're going to ask him the questions today, get his tips.
All right, so let's get into it. Question
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
What should people plan earlier than they think?
So we're going to play Ronan's answers for each one of these, and then we might kind of unpack them after. I think that's probably the easiest way to go through things. So I'm going to play his answer, and then we'll see what you think.
You need to plan this earlier than you think. I'd say know your layout for each room. So bedrooms, you want bed positions, bed sizes. It might start out as a single bed, but then go to a double bed, and you don't want a room that might only have 3 sockets. The bed now covers one of them, so just things like that you need to think of. The same with TV positions and couches. You know, you put the couch in the room, next thing you see an extension lead sticking out the bottom of the couch because the socket's being covered. So things like that, or just know your room layout.
Can I say, Ronan made me seriously think about this in my house. I kind of, everyone knows when you get to the kind of that stage, there's so much happening at the house in kind of first fix. Do you know, there's so many trades on site and there's so many positions and things to kind of consider. And you're thinking, the electrician is kind of thinking, not just where sockets and stuff, they're thinking way down the line, where everything is placed in the room. And I was almost dismissive on some of the stuff. I was like, oh, it's fine. Just the socket's there and there. The bed is, this size. And he was like, yeah, but what's the bed frame like? Is the frame going to be covering it? What are your bedside tables? What are your lamps? And he literally made me map them out and mark them relative to the bed I had. And the bed I had it sticks in my head because we were talking about the master bedroom. My bed's really low. It's kind of
very low profile.
Minimal. It's not a big, tall kind of bed frame, and it's not chunky on the sides. So when I was telling him the height of my bed, he was questioning me, being like, that's very low. Are you sure that's? And I was like, no, it is. But he was really questioning everything. He wasn't taking anything for granted. And as a result, then I think I don't have any sockets in the house that are blocked by things or trailing whatever extension leads, stuff like that. I just think that's such a good tip. Just planning it out and walking through how you'll use the room.
Yeah.
Why you need a socket in one corner versus the other wall in that corner, and the likelihood of something trailing or a piece of furniture being in front of it or something.
Yeah. And I think regular listeners to our podcast will have heard us say so many variations of this before, plan how you're going to use the space. But I think what's really important here is that this question was plan this earlier than you think. What should people plan earlier than they think? And for me, you might be listening and going, yeah, of course I need to plan where my couch goes, or maybe, this seems a bit obvious, or not obvious, but like, you need to do it.
Yeah.
But it might surprise you when you're going through the process how early you actually need to do it.
Yeah.
So like first fix comes in pretty quickly, right? Like
Does, yeah.
it's a pretty soon, and like you don't have to have everything to the final millimeter planned at that stage. But you do roughly need to know where the bed is going to go in the room,
Yeah.
roughly where the couch is going to go. Maybe not the exact height or the exact profile of the bed or the exact width, but roughly where it's going to go. By first fix, which is early, right? And you might not,
Early,
you
yeah.
could easily get caught unawares and be unprepared and then end up with, having to change things around. And then by second fix, you do need to know very specifically where things are going to go. So I think that's the trick of it, is a lot of detail, more detail than you may expect, earlier than you may expect, and be prepared for it. And it will pay
Yeah.
off in dividends.
Oh, it absolutely will, because when you think about, like you said, once second fix comes and the walls are kind of closed, everything becomes so much more difficult
Yeah.
to change. So like someone having a good electrician or something like that that's asking those questions early on is worth so much. But I obviously wasn't even like in the
Even
position I'm
you,
in.
who knows?
I actually feel like I wasn't that organized. Like I knew the size of my bed. I knew the lights and where they were going. I knew I wanted them low, and I knew, things like that. But just having that walkthrough and
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know, visualizing the space with all the furniture there. And sometimes you might not even have bought the furniture, because you don't want to buy all that stuff too early, but you
Yeah.
need to kind of just have sizes in mind.
Yeah.
I wanted the sockets really low. Like technically you can only have sockets 45 centimeters off the floor, I think, a regulation now, but I wanted them lower, and he was like, no, you can't. So we had to kind of maneuver things around, and where do you want your wall light switch? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just
Yeah.
here. And he was like, but it'll be kind of hidden. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to see it because I had my lovely wallpaper or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just like thinking those things through for every room, and
Yeah.
just try and visualize, and you walk into that room, what's going to be where, and why do you need a socket in that corner? I'm not saying don't put a socket in the corner, but what purpose is it going to serve there? So does it
Yeah.
need to be on that wall of the corner or that wall of the corner? Because that actually can make all the difference. So
Definitely.
I think
And
the
if you're
earlier the
not
better.
sure, to have that conversation, I suppose, if you're like, I think I'm going to have this size bed, but it might be this size, then talk that through with the electrician, and they'll probably be able to say, the safer bet then is to make the sockets a bit wider, or to put the switches a bit higher, or whatever it might be. But have it all, like, be prepared to be detailed. I think
Yeah.
that is,
So I
that
love
is a
this
really good
one.
one.
So we're going to ask next, spend more money on and don't waste money on, which I think are both really important. So let's go
Okay.
with spend more money on first and see what he said.
Okay, where should you spend more?
Spend more money on future proofing, so car charger, solar, if your garden allows it, a garden room, and also garden lighting. Because obviously you want the inside of your house to be nice, but it's important to what you're looking out at as well, and it can make a big difference.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is such a good tip. People forget this so often. Okay, garden lighting, you can come back to it and put in solar solutions, and that's fine. But it's your outdoor lighting. Another thing I would really say is an outdoor plug. I think that's such a genius tip. Like, don't forget about the outside. And I love the future proofing, because if you're getting your house renovated and you think at some stage you might put in solar panels, but you're not ready to do it now, or the car charger, getting that connection point installed now while the electrician is on site and the walls are open is going to cost you pennies compared to what it would cost to get somebody back in to do that job.
Exactly.
So, I just think that's such a great tip.
It's such a great tip. And we took his advice on this. We have provision for solar on our garage. So we might put solar panels on the roof of that at some stage. And we have provision for battery storage out there if we do a lot of solar panels. And we also have, not getting into like the other trades yet, but like we did plan for things we might do out there. And garden lighting and garden sockets is another really, really important one. Outdoor sockets, like, rather than bringing out extensions, and you might need to plug in specific things outside, and garden lights make such a difference. Yes, solar is good, but it's not good enough to be uplighting big gardens and plants.
Especially in winter time,
Yeah.
because I've got solar fairy lights and just in my tiny little garden. And while I love them and it's kind of enough for what I want, you don't get enough daylight in wintertime for it. Like, they switch off at about maybe 5 or 6 sometimes in like the middle of winter.
But you're
That's a
probably
great
even
tip.
getting the light from your doors in your house out to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
small
yeah.
outdoor
But
space. Whereas if
still,
the garden's long, like you need
yeah,
light down the back of it. So like I think having the provision for that, even if you're not putting in the light system now, is totally worth it, I think.
yeah. That is spending money to save money. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, where should you not waste your money?
Yeah.
So don't waste money on putting decorative sockets and switches in places that won't be visible. So it comes back to knowing your room layout. So I've seen people spend €50 a socket, and next thing it's behind a couch, a bedside locker, a unit, and it adds up. It could have been hundreds that could have been saved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a great one to save, especially ones that are like, in wardrobes, or, maybe just in the side
Yeah.
panel of a wardrobe or something like that, or like you said, behind a bed or behind a locker or something that you're never going to see, because there could be like, you're shocked when you see the amount of switches and sockets on a
I know.
list. And you're like,
It
sure, how
adds
many
up
can there be now?
so
20?
fast.
And you're like, no, there's like 150 in a standardized. You're like,
And you might find
what?
like this really nice one and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's only €25 or €50. That doesn't seem much in the grand scheme of things based on what else I'm spending.
Yeah.
And then suddenly like 10, 20 of those later, you're looking at a
I
couple of
know.
grand almost. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
that really adds up.
Yeah, think of like where they're going, if they're visible, and also what surface they're going on. Like
Yeah.
surfaces are different colors, so sometimes you might want a dark one on a dark wall or a light one on a light wall.
Yeah.
That
And I'm all
mightn't save you
for
money, and
like,
might, but yeah.
I'm all for consistency and cohesion throughout the house, and I do like when there's kind of the same things everywhere. But if you're planning like fancy, brass plates or whatever, like the clear acrylic plates I love that go behind your wallpaper or whatever in certain rooms, if you've got a room with a plain wall, a white
Yeah,
socket or a white switch plate or whatever is totally
yeah,
fine.
it's a great way to
Um,
save.
yeah, it is a good way to. It's like it's a great tip because you might not realize how much of a money waster it could be in the first place.
Yeah,
So again, it's all down to planning. Like fair play to Ronan, he is a planner.
he's a planner for sure. So do this to make electrical work go smoothly. I think this is so important to
Okay.
make your whole thing run smoothly, the whole job.
Do this to make the build go smoothly. Just have your floor plans, any plans needed from the joinery company doing kitchen and utility, and just any changes that are being made, just communicate them as soon as possible.
So we've said this, I don't know how many times, communication is key. And like some small tweaks with the joinery company or new drawings issued or something like that, like that everything is passed along kind of as soon as possible. Because floor plans change, and like there's a reason builders usually have like signed off floor plans from an architect or whatever. But then you may be dealing with other finishes separately, whether it's flooring and kind of joinery and whatever. So like it's really important that anything there that might affect skirting heights and therefore where your sockets are or whatever, stuff like that, like that you're passing that along kind of as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's so important. And kitchen is a really obvious one because there's so many electrical
Yeah.
connection points in your kitchen. You're going to have sockets and appliance hookups and kill switches and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
like it's the difference between having your a big ugly socket at the wrong point, like messing up
Yeah.
your kitchen backsplash, or like maybe being able to hide your kill switches, around the corner of a cupboard or something like that, or like just having things like work much more neatly.
Yeah.
But then the other place that's important is wardrobes, because a lot of people now will have, wardrobes maybe covering a plug. Like you
Yeah.
could design for maybe extra depth wardrobes or something and forget that that's actually going to cover now where the plug is supposed to go. Half the socket might be gone, or maybe you want to wire it up for lighting. And you forget you've this great idea for like lovely wardrobes that light up when you open the doors, and those are so handy and it's really easy to do. But if you forget to tell your electrician early by first fix, or if you change the position or anything, then it can just mess up the whole plan for what is a really expensive installation. So yeah,
We
communication. And like when we talk about communication, like I think these things come up and then people are maybe not sure, or they're like, oh yeah, I better say that now. But the difference between saying it now and saying it on Friday, or waiting 2 or 3 days, could be the difference between the walls being closed up, or like
Yeah.
having to cut more holes in the plaster, or having to order more stuff, whatever it might be. So I think like early, clear communication,
Clear.
verify something. Is this the latest version? You look, oh, just super, super clear, direct, early communication. It's so
Is this the
important.
latest
It's
version?
everything.
Even if, like, if you find you're very hands-on and you might be managing a lot of stuff, or you're directly the project manager, having some sort of physical sign off on a set of drawings is so worth it. Like, because
Yeah.
an architect will typically do that with a builder or something, but if you're managing a lot of stuff and you're managing the kitchen stuff directly yourself and stuff like that, it's really important that they're working off the same, we're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just don't take that for granted, that like you're like, oh well, I brought new drawings here, but did everyone get those
Yeah.
new drawings communicated to them? Did everyone see that you now want the hob on the fucking kitchen island and it wasn't there
Yeah.
before?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
you know, you might be like, but we can fit the hob on the kitchen island. Yeah, but we still have to wire it, you know, so.
Do they know that it's downdraft?
Exactly.
Or are they
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
wires in the wall for an overhead extractor or something?
Yeah.
And another thing I think as well is that, like, I definitely fell foul of this, and I'm sure loads of people do, because I have a desk job. So I'm sitting at my computer, and if I see something new coming in, and I, as an organized person, I'm on top of what the latest change is. But the tradespeople on site, through natural human behavior, they're going to be getting emails from you, emails from the kitchen company, a text from the electrician, a phone call from
Yeah.
someone else. And to be honest, like, when you've got a very hands-on job and you're not looking at the screen all day, and you're not even looking at your phone that often because you've got a hammer and nails in one hand and you're trying not to saw off your fingers, it's much easier, of course, to lose track of what came in latest, or was there a change, or whatever. So yes, of course, people should be keeping on top of everything, and of course, you know, that's the job. But it's just an easy point for mistakes to happen through just natural human error, you know. So keep on top of it and make sure, if you're not sure, don't assume that just because you said something or somebody made a phone call that everyone is completely up to date. Just check. Don't be patronizing, but just
check.
double check, triple
And
check.
agree some sort of formal process for changes or whatever. And just remember, you're not nagging at this stage by saying all those little things. You're making it easier for them now, rather than changes down the line where they have to be cutting out plasterboard sheets, or even worse, if they have to dig out and chase newly plastered walls or something. So, like, you know, the earlier the better. Even if you think it's going to slightly annoy them, it'll annoy them tenfold if you leave it go further down the line.
Yeah, like, I'd rather have them like roll their eyes at me because I'm nagging them, being like, are you sure now you have the latest, this is the latest one? I'd rather than be like, for God's sake, yeah, you told me 5 times, like, it is. I'd rather that than, you know, them just being so busy that they missed one email coming in, which, again, you know, okay, it shouldn't happen, but you can see how it would. It's an easy thing to happen. So just give everyone the best shot to make it as easy as possible.
The biggest mistake that homeowners make. So, like, the last question, the biggest mistake that homeowners make. I thought this is the big one, and I thought it would be kind of like a short answer, like, or, you know, a one thing, but like, it was very deep and expensive. I would say his answer, not expensive, like, there was a lot to it, I think. So let's play the answer for this one, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
So the biggest mistake people make is not having enough input in the walkthrough with the electrician. So a lot of times the architect is there and the architect has a drawing, and it could be a good drawing, but it just could be months old, and things could have changed by the time it comes to rewiring, and a lot of people are overwhelmed and they feel like they can't deviate from the drawing. But have to remember that you're the one who knows the day-to-day living of the house. You know what you need more than a drawing does, so don't be afraid to speak up and move things around rather than doing it at the end when it's going to be costly.
Yeah. God.
There's a mic now, I drop it for this one. I'll tell you, because, like, I couldn't agree with the statement more. And, like, you're probably one that was very involved in your electrical planning because you had, you know, intricate enough lighting and things like that, right? But I think the amount of people I've seen come to me being like, oh, they have 47 spotlights in, like, that was just what was in the plan, right? That. So I'm like, why is there that? Like, did you walk through this? And they're like, well, I don't know, that's just what's in the plans. Like, you have input into this electrical part. And sometimes, not all the time, some architects are fantastic and do amazing lighting plans, but sometimes there's not an awful lot of thought given to lighting plans because they don't know the furniture you're going to put in. They don't know exactly the layout of every room and what you're going to be doing in that room and things like that. So I think that walkthrough is so important, and even do the walkthrough as a household as a family first before you even involve the trades. Like look at the architect's drawings, mark on like where you think you'd want sockets, where you think you'd want downlights, where you think you want like atmospheric wall lights or whatever, and think of those, and then be ready for the walkthrough with your colored pens to mark all these. Like I just love doing colored dots in different colors for different fittings and sockets and switches and whatever. And the same goes for like switching, you know, the one-way switching, two-way switching. Where are you going to switch on a light? Oh, now you're upstairs. I need to be able to switch it off up there, or else I have to trek back downstairs. All those.
Do you have to get out of bed to turn off your main light? Do you know?
Yeah.
Are you able to see when you come in the door? Are you able to turn it off when you're going to bed at the top of the stairs? You need to run back and then go through it, like cross over a dark room to leave the room. Like, is the switch, you know, easily at the entrance point? Another big one as well, like lighting is so. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say I couldn't agree with that kind of statement of like the architect's drawings might be months old, because the architect is looking at the building, right? And the architect is looking at very basic kind of level furnishings maybe at this stage, unless you have an architect that's heavily involved in all the finishes and everything like that. But like I just think you're the person that has to live in that house. You're the person that's going to be pissed off if you have to walk back downstairs to switch a light off every time you go up to bed and someone's forgotten it, or you know. So like that's just a key point of that statement or that answer that Ronan sent, I think, is you're the person that has to live with it, you know.
And it's everyone's life is different, because you're going to make assumptions and be like, well, of course I want it done that way, or of course there's going to be a socket over there because that's where X goes. But that's not true for everyone. Everyone puts things in different places. So it is up to you to tweak it. We go into this in a lot of detail in episode 50. So if you haven't listened to previous episodes, go back and listen to episode 50 of this podcast, and we go through doing your electrical plan in detail, because there's lighting, which is really important, and maybe you have an architect and an interior designer, but lighting is often a different discipline. Like it has its own, you know, interior design, interior architecture track. It's its own separate discipline on construction sites, you know, on bigger sites. So it's a big complex area, and they might not be specialist in it. So it's personal to you. There's lighting, there's where the sockets goes, there where the switches go. There is Wi-Fi points, especially if you've got an old house and thick walls. Think about that, where you're going to be working. You know, if you're upstairs, like is the Wi-Fi going to be able to get there? Things like automatic timers on your fans in your bathrooms, or, you know, motion sensors outside, or demister pads on your your mirror in your bathroom, underfloor heating if it's an electric pad, speakers in your walls. Like there's a huge amount to think about, and it's if you do it right and do it early and do it in a detailed way, your life is going to be so much easier. It's a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. It's just your life's going to be easier, and just the house will be a nicer house to live in when it functions like you want. And like going back to like was Ronan's first answer with the trailing extension lead. Like besides, I mean, in an ideal world, you don't need an extension lead in your house. As in you know, you've planned it really well then. I know there's exceptions to that rule when you haven't rewired, but if you're rewiring your house, it should be laid out as you need, you know?
Agreed.
So like, I just think that walkthrough, I can't overstate how important it is, and how shocked I am by the lack of involvement with a lot of people renovating. They just think that's just not my part. Like, I'm decorating the house, I don't have to care about the electrical plan. You absolutely do. It's how your house is going to work.
Yeah. So do it yourself with your plans, or sit down with your partner, whoever else in the house, and do like a mental walkthrough of the plan. We're going in this door, we're turning the switch on here, blah, blah. And then come prepared with those notes, I would say, to the walkthrough with your electrician. And assuming you have a good electrician, which we think most of them are great, assuming you have a good one, then they will give you like details and steer and whatever else it may, you know, they can do. Like ask you the right questions or challenge you appropriately or whatever during that walkthrough. So use them, use their expertise and their knowledge.
Use their expertise. Yeah, and one thing, like even on my walkthrough with Ronan, he was talking about the wall lights. You know, I had a lot of wall lights this time and I didn't in the last house. So I was like, I want a wall light here. And like the heights of wall lights, things like that are actually really important to mark, because at the first fix stage, they won't have seen the type of wall light you have, right? And certain wall lights might be like exposed lights and they'll be in your eye line. So you might want them higher. Whereas other ones might be just the cup ones and just like, you know, the uplighting the wall. And then you might want them at more or less eye height for decoration purposes or something. So like things like that, you even have to look at like the heights you want like fitting
yeah.
that and things like that. Are you going to put a mirror there? Is that wall light going to interfere with it? And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's some information that only you know. That's why I think the walkthrough makes it so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of takeaways from this episode.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think of this format, and if you learned something, and we will be back next week with our next trade secrets.
Yeah. See you then.
If you enjoyed that episode, likes, shares and subscribes really help us out. So if you can, please do. Thank you.